Well, folks, welcome back to another episode of ReThink Real Estate. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing two of my dear friends and also business colleagues. We've got Scott Palermo and James Sanick. They run a business called Harcourts Desert Homes in Palm Springs in California. They're opening up a new office in Palm Desert, just down the Coachella Valley, closer towards some of these luxury estates and clubs that we're going to talk about today. In today's episode, we go into some serious case studies of how they've taken their business from selling $500,000-$600,000 properties from an average perspective all the way up to $10, $12, $15 million properties in some of the most exclusive country clubs in all of North America. This is a great story of how leveraging the auction process into getting into the luxury marketplace is something that you can do regardless of your previous experience in real estate as well. They come from a long career, then opening up their own office, then embracing something new like auction to break into a luxury market. We only give a couple of examples today, but they are taking the luxury marketplace by storm in the Coachella Valley and certainly progressing forward. It's a great story as well. Towards the end of the episode, we talk about their journey and the trials and tribulations that they went through to get to where they are. I hope you enjoy it. They're two great characters, and I really enjoyed this episode. Thanks so much. Welcome to ReThink Real Estate. My name is Ben Brady, and this is a real estate podcast aimed to deliver sales strategies, marketing tips, and business insights from industry experts and myself to build a listing-focused business for the future. Let's get into it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm joined by two of my dearest friends through our real estate journey in North America, and it's a pleasure to have James and Scott on the podcast with us. Welcome to the both of you.
Thank you.
Hello. From Palm Springs.
Do you know what? You guys don't realize this, but you're a little bit of, you both are celebrities in the real estate community, internal to Harcourts, but also external as well. The Palm Springs singing realtor, Scott, has definitely hit the international threshold of things. Whenever you sing happy birthday to me or something, or one of the team, is that we get so many comments on it that now everybody basically knows you in any real estate community that we're on social media with.
I didn't know that. I guess I need to start doing more, not less.
Well, again, I think that it's brand recognition in every way, shape, and form. But I guess that, you know, the thing that we really want to dive in today and we want to talk about, having already given the people that are listening today a bit of background on you in the introduction, we want to talk a little bit about today because I think your guys' story, not only from Harcourts Desert Homes and where it is today and some of the exciting things we have into the future, and we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end of the podcast, but one of the really major leverage points that I've seen the both of you guys do is use our non-distressed auction process to get into some of, I would say, the most exclusive, tightly held real estate communities in quite possibly North America. I might even go the world. Like we're going to be talking about real estate transactions and clubs that you guys are selling real estate in at the moment where, you know, presidents, many former presidents of the United States have had property. And, you know, there's one of them that has a underground vault for people's cars. You know, like this is some incredibly high-end luxury people, lifestyles, and communities, let alone the real estate that then is involved in that, the egos that then need to be navigated, and the situations that need to be navigated. I'm really excited to talk about your journey through to getting into the luxury price point, but then some specific case studies of the auctions that you've done. But first of all, I want to just sort of kick it off by giving you guys the floor and talking about how you felt that auction has impacted your business into the luxury marketplace.
I'll go first. So when we signed our franchise fee agreement 8 years ago, one of the things that got us excited about Harcourts, besides the people aspect and the technology aspect, was the non-distressed auction platform. We're a little bit frustrated because there's only so far up in the luxury real estate business that you could go in our very tight-knit community if you didn't know someone or have something different. And although we'd sold luxury, we hadn't been at the top of the food chain. And which is really what we'll talk about later today about Bighorn, the Vintage, and some of the more exclusive clubs. So our goal was to really transform our business to a higher level and provide that opportunity to our agents who could seize that moment and understand what we were trying to accomplish.
Yeah. And James, how have you seen it impact your business? Because you, on a day-to-day perspective, I remember when we first sort of started doing, real estate together, average sale price, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I'd say probably, obviously we've seen a bit of a growth in the desert marketplace with it being such a popular market over the last number of years, but would we say average sale price might be like $500,000 or $600,000?
Today, I think the average sales price today is probably closer to $700,000 for most realtors. With auction, we've been able to quadruple our price point using the platform.
And what was your price point, I guess, coming into Harcourts? Because you both were pretty significant, realtors in the Coachella Valley. You worked for Windermere previously, and ultimately, you guys had been. It's not like you were brand new realtors to the desert coming in with and using auction to penetrate a marketplace. You guys were pretty established. So, James, what was the average sale price for you for the both of you guys before joining Harcourts?
Oh, I would imagine it was probably right around 500,000.
Yeah. And then how many transactions were you guys doing a year?
At that time, right around 35 to 40.
Okay. And so that's, it's significant volume. It really is. And I guess a little chuckle to the luxury price point is that it's a little bit easier to, go ahead and double end a $6 million transaction that we'll talk about later on. But it's a little easier than doing a whole bunch of those transactions, correct?
Yes, it is. Because you're working with much more sophisticated people. So in one sense, the transaction is a little bit easier on one hand. On the other hand, because you're dealing with high net worth and ultra high net worth people, you better be sure you cross your T's and dot your I's.
Yeah. Now, I think that the part of this that I want to talk about first of all is getting an opportunity, because everything comes down to one individual moment, one individual opportunity. How did you guys actually break in to some of these tightly held markets? Could you maybe talk about some of the exclusive clubs so people can get an idea of the desert market, and talk about how tightly held the real estate is within each one of those communities?
So I'll go on that first. So the top three clubs here in the Coachella Valley, we have more than 100 country clubs. Our Bighorn Golf Club ranked number 18 in the United States last year for being in the top best of the best clubs in the United States. Then the Vintage Club, which was ranked in the top 5 by Forbes magazine. I believe it was number 3 last year. So we're in 2 of the top 3 clubs. The other club is the Madison Club, and we've not really focused on that club at this time because our success really has been building our business and our brand at Bighorn Golf Club first, and really at the Vintage Club second. And truthfully, the 2 most prestigious, well-established clubs here in the Coachella Valley and in the United States.
Now, give me an idea, Scott, of what it is to what do people have to do to join these clubs, and actually, get into the club? Because I'm assuming that there's members of those clubs that don't own real estate within the walls. Like when we say clubs, it's not something where it's just a clubhouse surrounded by an estate. It has walls around it, people. Like it is like there's one of them that has a full-time, I think it's a full-time police force or something like that.
Mm-hmm. They all do.
Oh.
They all have private security details.
Right.
They have technology, like in some of these clubs, they'll have laser beams on top of the perimeter walls to ensure no one scales the walls. They have sensors on the walls that if someone places something on a wall that's either warmer or colder than the actual wall temperature, like a bomb, sensors go off and then dispatch the security detail, or ultimately start pushing buttons where the U.S. Secret Service or the FBI or the local police department is dispatched within minutes.
Wow. And then joining one of these clubs, what is the expense to do so?
So the most exclusive and most difficult club is the Vintage Club. So first you have to, in order to get into the Vintage Club, you have to be sponsored by 2 members. You go through an interview process where you go through, and you're literally through committee. They take you through that process. If you get through that process, which does include a background check and all that around that as well,
financial records,
then you have to write a check for $250,000. And so you have to buy a piece of real estate, and at the club we're talking $1 million to $20 million, depending upon the property. You've got to have the ability to have 2 members that want to sponsor you, and you also have to have the ability to pass the interview. And just to give you an idea, the Vintage Club is where the presidents have been, and that's where Charles Schwab is, the Nordstrom family, Bill Gates, to name a few. The amazing part about the Vintage, we've met a lot of really amazing people there, and you might not know they're a billionaire unless you were in that club. Bighorn, I would say a slight step down. It's the same price point, $250,000 to join the club. There's also monthly fees and annual fees that are in addition to that. But at Bighorn, you don't go through two people having to sponsor you to get into the club. So it's a little bit easier sell at Bighorn because although they're both at the same level, it's just a little bit higher level when it comes to the requirements to join the Vintage.
I just the thing that just I wanted the audience to understand is the exclusivity of these places. Like, because when you guys first told me, because again we've stayed connected on some of this luxury stuff that you guys have done, and you're telling me about these clubs. I had to admit, like, again, I trust you guys implicitly, but I walked away going, are they telling me a story on that? That just sounds too difficult. Like that just sounds like ridiculous. And then we grew into doing some of these transactions, and nope, absolutely perfectly true. And talk to me about some of the other internal sales of like I know that it's been really difficult to break into these markets. I'm trying to paint a picture for people in the sense to get a understanding of then there's internal sales teams within these communities, basically like on-site sales, if anybody understands new home construction or something along those lines. And to penetrate that marketplace has been really difficult because they're in the ear of everybody and all of that stuff. Can you talk to me about the exclusivity hold that those realtors have on those communities?
So yes, to the on-site sales offices. So most of the luxury clubs do have on-site sales offices, and because they coordinate, they have parties. There's all kinds of things that focus on the on-site sales office, and there's also pressure that the on-site sales offices may put down on their club members, basically expressing to their club members, we might not show other out-of-area agents listings if they're not our own listings. So they put a lot of pressure on club members to really keep realtors like us out of the club when it comes to the listing side of the business. They don't mind on the buy side. They like that, but they're very, for lack of a better word, territorial on that. They also have part of their sales proceeds go into the support of clubs. So sometimes club members feel compelled to do that.
Yeah.
The other issue that we found is that sometimes when you have an entitlement type situation with an on-site sales office, they're not doing the same work that a team like James and myself do when it comes to launching a property. They'll minimize the photos, they'll minimize everything. So they're not providing the same high level of service to their sellers because it's almost viewed as this is my business or this is an entitlement. So we've really come to work with the on-site sales office to build our relationships with all of them so they don't feel that, because they're still doing a majority of the business. We're just getting a snapshot, and we just want to have that piece of the pie as the plan B often as well.
So talk to me about this then, and I think that it's an important point to now segue into where the auction has come into really getting you guys in the door. James, with the properties that you've done in the Vintage and Bighorn, have those properties been properties that the on-site sales team have had previously, and maybe because of a bit of complacency or maybe not having those traditional real estate thoughts or marketing thoughts or things along those lines, they haven't been successful through the traditional element, and then you've gotten in the door with auction?
That's exactly right, Ben. Many times the on-site sales office will almost artificially increase the list price to maintain a certain pricing integrity within the club. And many times their listings are overpriced, so they do not sell. And then after 2 years in the market with one listing, and 5.5 years on the market with another listing, the sellers get seller fatigue because the property's not sold and they've got their carrying costs. And so with auction, it provides us the opportunity to get our foot in the door, to have a different conversation with them, how we're different and how we would go about marketing their property by lowering the price and doing an extreme amount of marketing. When I say extreme amount of marketing, in comparison to what the on-site sales office does, for instance, many times they only put 5, 6, or 7 photos online of the property, maybe a 2-sentence description of the property, basically saying, call the on-site sales office. Where we, on the other hand, We'll do 50 photos, we'll do virtual tours, we do an agent introduction video to introduce the property to the marketplace, and we do considerably more marketing. So when sellers see that we're producing and selling their properties in a short amount of time for top dollar, that only helps us because then they share their experience with other club members as to their experience, because what we've learned in the last 3 years is there is a growing minority
Yep.
of homeowners at these clubs that want a plan B. They want a different option to work with because they're not necessarily beholden to working with the on-site sales office.